Hello students, let us start with a new online lecture for today for the course title Production Technology for Production Technology of for Ornamental Crops, Medicinal and Aromatic Plants and Landscaping for the course number Horticulture Hort 354. So today's online topic of discussion is scope of floriculture in India. Also we will switch on to medicinal plants, their definition, importance and scope for cultivation of medicinal plants, especially in India. Prior to this online lecture, we also studied the importance of floriculture in India regarding its economic point of view, aesthetic point of view, and social point of view. So today's online topic of discussion is scope of floriculture in India. Now, varied and dynamic agroclimatic conditions in India. Now, India is blessed with varied and dynamic agroclimatic conditions, good quality soil and water made suitable for agriculture. Due to these conditions, there is a vast scope for floriculture in India. Now, next is geographical location of India, that is between Europe and East Asia. Now, this also helps. Geographically, India is well located between two major markets of the world, that is Europe and East Asia. So these conditions also favor for vast scope of floriculture in India. The third scope in terms of Indian winters are very mild, and hence there is a growing mild Indian winters enhance the scope of flower export. Now Indian winters being very mild, and hence there is a lot of scope for export in India. Now as compared to the western countries, the winters in India are mild. Now, the next point for scope of floriculture in India is growing availability of cheap labor in India. Now, availability of cheap labor in India. Now, labor cost is very low as Indian conditions are concerned, nearly 10 to 15 times cheaper than that of similar employees of India has identified floriculture as extreme focus. Now, as compared to the employees in Netherlands, Israel, and Japan. Now, they are 10 to 15 times cheaper in India as compared to these countries. Now, the next point for scope of floriculture is growing demand for flowers in international market and domestic market. Now, there is an increase in demand for growing demand for flowers in international market, also in domestic market. Now, the demand is increasing day by day for the flowers, not only national market or domestic market or local market, but also in international market. So, from this point of view, there is a vast scope for floriculture in India. Now, the next point is financial support by APEDA for floriculture products export. Now, financial support by APEDA for floriculture products support. Now, APEDA is Agriculture Food Products Export Development Authority of India. The full form of this abbreviation is Agricultural Food Products Export Development Authority of India. Now, this APEDA is giving financial support or assistance to some extent for various activities connected with export of floriculture products. So, due to these favorable financial conditions or supporting financial conditions for the flower growers, there is also scope for floriculture in India. The next point is easy bank financing for high-tech floriculture. Easy bank financing for high-tech floriculture. Now, this also favors the scope of floriculture in India. The next point is more foreign exchange earning ability possessed by floriculture products. Now, floriculture products possess more foreign exchange earning ability. That means floriculture products possess 25 to 30 times more foreign exchange earning ability as compared to the cereals or any other agricultural or horticultural products. That means the foreign exchange earning ability of the floriculture products is far more as compared to the other agricultural or floriculture products. Let us move on to the next slide. Here also, these conditions also favor for scope of floriculture in India. That is, 100% tax exemption on implements or raw materials used in greenhouses. Now, whatever the implements or raw materials that are used in greenhouse cultivation of floriculture, there is 100% tax exemption. Now this will reduce the cost of production of flowers, especially in greenhouses, and so it will enhance the scope of cultivation of floriculture in India. Minimization in rules and regulations on import and export. Minimizing in rules and regulations on import and export. Now, the rules and regulations, especially related to the import and exports, have been minimized. That means they are elasticated. They are a little bit elasticated, minimized. So this will also favor the conditions for scope of floriculture in India, or more for growth of more floriculture in Indian conditions. Floriculture has been identified as extreme focus thrust area for export of GOI. Now, the government of India, GOI means government of India. The government of India has identified floriculture as extreme focus thrust area for export during the 9th 5-year plan. So these also conditions favor for the scope of floriculture in India. Now the next point is, European nations have brought down import duty on floriculture products by 15%. Now the European nations have brought down import duty, which was more than 50%. They have brought down it below 50%, especially on floriculture products. Now, with the implementation of GATT is abbreviation, which full form is General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. Now, under these agreements, after implementation of this agreement, European nations have brought down the import duty on floriculture products, that which are the floriculture products that have been imported from India in the European countries, which at present is 15% less. These also conditions favor for increasing scope of floriculture in India. Now, the government of India has set up an infrastructure for floriculture industry in major cities, especially like New Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bengaluru, and Pune. Now, the government of India has set up an infrastructure for floriculture industry, especially in the major cities like New Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bengaluru, and Pune. These are also conditions which are favorable for increasing scope of floriculture in India. Due to ample availability of sunlight and optimum temperatures during winter, cut flower production in greenhouse does not require artificial lighting or heating. Now, this is the main cause for scope of floriculture, especially scope of cut flower production during the winter seasons, because nearly due to the ample availability of sunlight, especially under Indian conditions, especially during winter also, we receive ample quantity of sunlight and optimum temperatures during winter. So cut flower production, it enhances or makes the cut flower production less costly in greenhouses, which does not require artificial lighting or heating, which is required in the European nations where the winters are very severe and the temperatures drop down very below the freezing points. Now this increases the cost of raising of these cut flowers, but vice versa under Indian conditions, due to availability of ample sunlight and optimum temperatures during cut flower production during winter, in greenhouses it does not require the artificial heating or lighting, which reduces the cost. These conditions, all the conditions whatever we have seen up till now, these conditions increase the scope of floriculture, are favorable for increasing the scope of floriculture in India. Now, let us move on to the next slide regarding medicinal plants. Now, medicinal plants, especially the definition, they are defined as medicinal plants are those plants which are rich in secondary metabolites and are potential sources of drugs. The plants which are rich in secondary metabolites and are potential sources of drugs. These plants are referred as medicinal plants. Now, drugs means a medicine which or a substance which has a physiological effect when ingested. That is called as drug. It is very important to know these things. Substances necessary for metabolism are called as metabolites. Metabolites means substances which are necessary for metabolism, human metabolism. They are referred as metabolites. Now, these secondary metabolites includes alkaloids, glycosides, coumarins, flavonoids, and steroids. These are further classified into 5 groups, that is alkaloids, glycosides, coumarins, flavonoids, and steroids. These are the characters of medicinal plants which are described below. These plants form the base for manufacture of drugs of Indian systems of medicine, that is Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, and homeopathy. Now these are the Indian system of medicines, that is they are grouped into 4: Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, and homeopathy. Now these plants which are rich in secondary metabolites and are potential sources of drugs, they form the base for Indian system of medicine. These plants are found in different environmental climatic conditions in various parts of the country. Now, these plants are found in various parts of the country in different environmental and climatic conditions. That means they are available there. Plants which grow wild in forest regions are classified as minor forest produce and supply a substantial amount of raw material required for indigenous drug industry. Now here also, whatever the plants which are found in the wild conditions or wild habitats, they are also classified as minor forest produce, and also they supply a substantial amount of raw material which is required for indigenous, means Indian drug industry. Now, up till now we saw the definition of medicinal plants, also further qualities or what is the importance of medicinal plants also we saw, which they form the base of Indian systems of medicine. Also, these plants supply a substantial amount of raw material required for indigenous drug industry. Now here we will see the importance and scope for cultivation of medicinal plants in India. India is one of the few countries in the world where almost all the known medicinal plants can be cultivated. India is one of the few countries all over the world where almost all the known medicinal plants can be cultivated in some part of the country or the other. That means overall together, almost all the medicinal plants which form the base of medicinal system or drug system, they can be cultivated in one part or the other part of our country. Plants in great demand in the country and abroad. Now, there are some plants which have a great demand not only in India but also in the other countries. For example, opium, poppy, propane alkaloid bearing plants, sapogenin bearing yams, senna, psyllium, husk seeds, cinchona, and apia. Now, these are the medicinal plants which have a great demand in the country, not only in the country but also in the foreign countries. That is opium poppy, propane alkaloid bearing plants, sapogenin bearing yams, senna, psyllium, husk seeds, cinchona, and apia. The ancient Indian system of medicine is predominantly a plant-based material medica, which uses most of our native plants. Now, the ancient Indian system of medicine, especially ISM, is predominantly a plant-based material medica. Material medica, that means a medicinal system, making use of almost all of our native plants. Whatever the plants which are native of India, they are used as medicinal plants by the ancient Indian system of medicine. There are much more plants. Now, the Indian system of medicine caters to almost the entire rural population of our country. The Indian system of medicine caters to almost the entire rural population of our country. That means it caters, means it provides medicines to entire rural population of our country. It caters, that means it provides to almost the entire rural population of our country, mainly because of scarcity of modern allopathic health care in our villages. That means as due to the scarcity of modern allopathic health care in our remote villages, these native medicinal plants provide almost the entire rural population of our country. The medicines are provided by these medicinal plants. Let us move on to the next slide. Indian system of medicine offers most appropriate first-line therapy against many diseases like jaundice, bronchial asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, etc., for which allopathic medicines have yet no cure. You can see the importance of these lines. That means that the allopathic medicines have not yet found any cure for the above diseases: jaundice, bronchial asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, and diabetes. For these diseases, Indian system of medicines, which is originally plant-based or medicinal plant-based medicine system, offers most appropriate first-line therapy against many of such diseases, for which allopathic medicines have not yet found any cure. Most of the allopathic medicines produce many morbid side effects. For this reason, many Western societies are showing increasing interest and preference for the organic drugs and their preparations. Now, what are the disadvantages of these allopathic medicines? Now, in the current position, many Western societies, they are showing disinterest in these allopathic medicines because they produce many morbid side effects. Due to these allopathic medicines produce many morbid side effects. Morbid means adverse side effects, undesirable side effects. So, most of the Western societies have discarded this use of these allopathic medicines, and they have preferred and also interested in increasing use. They are also showing increasing interest and preference for these Indian medicinal plants, drugs produced from Indian medicinal plants, which are organic drugs and their preparations. India has 2,000 species of medicinal plants and a vast geographical area with high production potential and varied agroclimatic conditions. Now, under Indian conditions, nearly 2,000 medicinal plants, species of medicinal plants have been found, and a vast geographical area with high production potential and varied agroclimatic conditions. Now, this much potential our country has, which has nearly 2,000 species of medicinal plants. Most of these plants can survive under stress conditions and are thus suited even for rain-fed agriculture. Now, most of the medicinal plant species can survive under Indian conditions, can survive under stress conditions, means water stress or climatic stress conditions, and are thus suited even for rain-fed agricultural conditions. They can be cultivated even under rain-fed agriculture conditions. Hence, cultivation of medicinal plants offer considerable scope for rural employment and export for foreign exchange earnings. So, due to these above conditions, these plants offer considerable scope for rural employment, as there is a huge amount of unemployment in rural areas, and also export for foreign exchange earnings. So, the cultivation of medicinal plants offer considerable scope for rural employment and export for foreign exchange earnings. Let us move on to the next slide regarding the scope. India is a major exporter of medicinal plants. It is estimated that raw materials and drugs from medicinal plants worth rupees 86 crores are exported from India. Now, India is a major exporter of most of the medicinal plants, and the estimated that raw materials and drugs from the medicinal plants that are exported, they worth rupees 86 crores. They are exported from India to the other countries. India holds monopoly in production export of psyllium, psyllium and senna, and is the second largest exporter of opium latex. Now see, you can see from this, our country holds a monopoly. It is a major exporter of this psyllium and senna, and second largest exporter in the world of opium latex. I think that we should stop here today, and in the next online lecture, we will also deal with the remaining slides regarding the scope of medicinal plants. So we will stop here today. I will also continue from this slide in the next online lecture. Is all for the today. We will conclude here because it will be very difficult to upload the lectures.